being conducted remotely in accordance with Mass General Law and is being recorded. If we could just take a brief roll call. Tom Morale.
Carl Hummel.
Joanne Lamoth.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
First minutes.
Yep. First thing on the agenda, if we could approve the February 12th meeting minutes. Did everyone have a chance to review them?
Yep.
I also got feedback from Chief Bangma and incorporated his comments.
I saw that.
I did not get any response from Kathy
Okay.
about her section.
I assume that she's okay with it then.
Okay,
do I have a motion to approve them as written?
I move to accept.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Carl, yes.
Joanne, yes.
Tom, yes. Okay. All right, moving on to streets and highways.
Anything
Or
from the
actually,
select board?
because Chief Court, nothing from the select board. There is someone who did reach out with interest in joining the committee. Who I told them that we did have a meeting tonight if they wanted to stop by and see what we're doing. We could get him on a future meeting agenda to discuss more in depth. However, I don't think he's coming tonight. I'm just double checking that really quick. Okay.
If we follow the same process as other committees, we would interview them and then pass on our recommendation to the select board, and then the select board would interview them.
That is correct. So I would and yeah, I told him he's free to stop by, but if he wants to, we can get him on a if he's interested, we can get him on a agenda to interview him.
And if they're watching the video after the fact, hi.
Yeah, so it looks like he's leaving for the Turks and Caicos, so he won't be around till later in the month anyway. So do we want to talk about the noise and light ordinance, or do we want to wait to see if maybe Chief Kersey does end up showing up?
The current status is we're waiting for him to come up with the first draft, and that would be based on his research on whether to do a absolute decibel level relative against ambient, picking times and stuff. So that's why the ball's pretty much in his court at this point. I mean, I could come up with something, but he should be the one who sets the parameters as to what his department would find enforceable.
Okay. Yeah, and it looks like, did we get any red line docs from Chief Bangma or Kathy Schofield?
I haven't seen anything in the mail.
Okay.
I can give the status on the Conservation Commission work.
Yeah.
Isabella's prepared a first draft. In addition to the language cleanup, there are 3 other changes from the current bylaw in increasing order of public discussion, adding a butter notification for another kind of permitting. Concom has a whole bunch of them. It's optional as to whether there are permits for this kind of work request, and we don't do it at the moment, and we're proposing to do it. I can explain that more at length later. We want the ability to require a performance bond for a large developer. For example, and I don't want to cast aspersions on Kevin Meehan, he's planning on building the supermarket. As part of the project, he's going to be digging wells in the wetlands, and he's going to be making a big settling basin. If he walked away from the project, then the town would have to go and clean up any work he had done. The
Right.
purpose of the performance bond would be to allow us to recoup that cost. We
Well,
don't expect
wouldn't-
Kevin to do it. That's just an example.
Do we actually, don't we already require performance bonds for a variety of different permits?
The planning board will require for subdivisions for road
Okay,
acceptance and
subdivision.
whatnot. This is an additional bond that would be
Got it.
done by the Conservation Commission. And our agent would work with the planning board staff and determine for a large project whether we wanted an additional bond for what was going on. If someone is doing a wetlands crossing and they're promising to do replication, that's another example. And then the third one, which we will definitely get input from members of the community. Right now, we only protect within 100 feet of an intermittent stream. An intermittent stream is one that runs during the wet months and then dries up later on. There's other towns and cities have protection within 200 feet. However, Mendon has a whole lot of streams, and so we'll have to decide whether we want to do that level or not. The Conservation Commission will talk it out in their next meeting in March. We will be sending, Isabella will be setting out in notices to the site developers, and we'll have a conversation on it. We will see what feedback we get. My expectation is that we will definitely include the first two and probably the third one. The fourth one, we'll have to wait and see. The fourth one would probably generate a lot of discussion at town meeting. The other ones would not.
Yeah.
And in fact, you just heard between Tom and I exactly what kind of question people would have. And so as part of the standing up and saying, why do we want to have a performance bond? We would say it's particularly for wetland concerns. It's in addition to what the planning board does in terms of road bonds, and in order to try and address those questions up front. So we will be having a public, it will be put on Facebook. Isabel is going to work with Jeremy, the town administrator, to get that publicized, and then we will see about having feedback.
Okay.
After that, it comes to this committee, and then we look at it, and then it goes into the bucket with the other ones.
When are we thinking a timeline?
It would be nice if it's ready for the May town meeting. What I think it would be helpful is if we have a bunch of cleanup bylaws that are just rubber stamping and then one serious discussion, whether it's the noise ordinance one or this one. I don't know if we'd want to have both at the same time. So what we could do is look and see which of those two we would want to do in May, and which one would get passed off for a fall special, or if we have a town meeting just for bylaws people.
Yeah. I mean, I was thinking if we, so it looked, we determined March 26th as our final sort of, our final date where we review the town meeting, May town meeting proposals and vote on them. So do you think that there's a possibility of Concom having it ready for them?
We would have draft language, yes, and we would be able to say whether it's going. The other thing is that we would want to have a conversation with Jeremy and say, how gelled does the text have to be in order to get it as a warrant? And then how much, at some point, we will want to come up with the actual language and then a FAQ explaining it for him to put in his informational packet. And we'd need to find out whether he wants them both at the same time or whether we get the warrant submission approved by the select board and then have a week or two or 3 to finalize the language.
Got it. Got it. Got it. So
That's
really,
something we should
yeah.
check in with Jason on.
yeah. So yeah, really, when we have a warrant article, the motion doesn't need to be finalized for that. Is what you're saying. I get you.
Right.
You just have to have the zoomed out version. Okay. That sounds
So
good.
that's where I've set up this new spreadsheet listing proposed changes and what the status is, how far along it's going to be.
I'm sorry. I've had a crazy couple weeks. Did you sent that spreadsheet out, correct?
Yep. And
Oh.
it's in the SharePoint site.
What's it what's it called again?
It's in the
Tracking of
GBRC thing. It's in warrant
proposed
articles.
changes. Yep, I see.
And then this is the language that this is the change that we're making on town voting. We'll want to work again with you as town moderator and Jeremy to see exactly how we want to get this set up. The language that you're working on, you can create the one you showed us last meeting. You can basically copy that into this folder as well.
Okay.
So when you get a chance to go through your inbox, it'll be there.
Yep, I see it. I'll move that stuff over to there this week.
Yep.
So we don't have Chief hasn't joined us. So I'm going to assume he's probably not tonight.
Have you heard anything about Christina?
I have not.
Okay.
I'm just gonna check really quick to see if she hasn't emailed or anything.
And this is not the week that she's taking her bar exam.
Right. Right.
I thought this was the week she was taking it. No?
A couple of weeks out.
I thought that was a second week of the second
Hold
meeting of
on,
March.
I got it.
Okay.
March 26th.
Yep. Okay. So do we want to go through our ongoing review?
We can either look at section 8 or we can go through the action item list and people can talk about that.
Well, I can say I've been so busy the past couple of weeks with excise taxes coming out that I do not have updates on my open action items, but I will for
Okay.
next meeting. Do you have any updates on your open action items, Carl?
Well, I gave mine.
Okay, that's the only. How about Joanne? Do you don't even have an action
No,
item?
because I did the update the
You
last
did
time
yours,
around.
okay.
Yep.
All right, so
Yeah.
it's all me and Jeremy and Jason and okay, I will have mine done for next meeting for sure.
Yep.
Okay, let's go back up to, I know we're kind of bouncing around, I apologize.
It's
We
okay.
want to go back up to, let's go back up to 5. If we want to discuss the deletion of no person holding elected office.
Yep.
So I know, Joanne, you said you were unable to find any other town that has a similar.
Correct.
So what are your thoughts? Overall?
I think we should take it off of ours and I don't know if maybe not remove it, but maybe reference the state. Because that's basically,
No, I think we should just delete it.
delete it. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
So in that way, I would make a motion that we recommend to the select board that we have a warrant article to delete section 3.10.
That sounds good to me.
Works
Need
for
a
me.
second.
Do you have a second, Joanne? Do you second?
I second.
All right, all in favor?
Carl, yes.
Joanne, yes.
Aye. So that is our
And
recommendation. Another one.
yep. And what I will do is I'll work on with Jeremy and the town moderator on preparing the text that explains why we're doing this. And one of the questions that we'll want to get from the select board and other people is, do we actually say why this was created? And why we know we can
Oh,
say
gosh.
we can say we no longer think this is necessary because the state ethics law has been greatly improved and updated, and everyone in town takes ethics training. So that's why we feel this is no longer needed.
And they just, the state, they just, what, I believe, updated the state ethics, so we had to take the training again. So it's not like,
Yep.
Can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
On this particular bylaw, do any of the people still live in town?
I don't think so.
Okay. I wasn't in town at that time, so I was just curious as far as,
One of them may,
okay.
but
This
the other,
this ties in with the one the Kathy Schofield citizen petition. We are basically trying to set it so the bylaws do not have the appearance of being targeted at specific people.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that is something I am willing to say at town meeting. That we
And
are working to make these general and not look like they're specifically targeted at one particular person or faction in town.
yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
they shouldn't be at all.
And
Yeah.
and the whole reason why the select board has asked us to work is to take politics out of our bylaws.
Yes.
So, so that one's deleted, or at least we're suggesting it be deleted.
Yes.
Yes.
Did you guys have a chance to go through streets and highways?
Why, yes. It just happens to be right here. One of the one of my first comment, and the one that I will want to have again, you, Jason, and Jeremy, Tom, you and three talk about is, do we have an across the board where we go through and raise fines? Do we have
Right.
or is this something we do during a summer special bylaw only town meeting where we say, no, we've had 50 years of inflation in some cases, it's time to update them. So that's my question on, do we increase fines? Do we increase overdue penalties?
I think we should, but I don't think we should do it at this meeting. I think we should do it at a summer meeting.
Yeah.
Well, it's something the select board would be providing input. And Jeremy, I think, would be the person who we'd ask to make the red line of how the numbers should go up, because he has the experience of working in town government and can check with other town managers.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that sounds like a plan. I mean, I'm looking like you have that whole handicap parking violation, 50 parking within an intersection, $20 to park within an intersection. $10. Yeah. You know, these are all very small. I think given their nature, I think most people would understand raising them. Because I don't
So
think they want people to park in those places. So that should be a conversation with Jeremy and
is that something you're going to take as an action?
I'll take it on, yeah. I'll add it to my list and I'll have done for next meeting.
Yep.
So I guess my question is though, like, if we want to do a blanket fine raising for the language, will we target each specific section?
Yes.
Okay.
What would happen is there would be I move that we adopt, it'll be like you put up on the big screen a spreadsheet table, and here it says what the old fine is, and then the second column it says what the new fine is. And then people would be able to say, no, I think that this one shouldn't get increased, or I think it should get deleted. So we'd be sort of like, we'd have one general motion, and if anybody didn't like a particular one, they'd have a motion to split the question and yank that one out.
So yeah, kind of like we do with the budget.
The consent, yeah.
Makes sense to me. Yeah, that makes sense to me. So yeah, I'll talk to Jeremy about that. And Jason. Okay. Any other thoughts on anything else stand out to you from?
Yeah.
Jason?
There's an action item. We should talk with the parking clerk, meaning the town clerk, and see whether Ellen wants anything done.
Okay.
Is that another, you ask Ellen?
Yeah. Load me up.
Oh, sure.
Okay. The next one, the section specifically mentions Taft Library and other places. Again, this is things, actually, let me see if I can pull that up. Here we go. Six dot. Six dot section. Section 8, 6.5.E.2. There's parking prohibited things. Do we really need these? I guess so, but it's talking specifically about, do we want to change, instead of saying Taft Library, but instead say the public library?
Isn't the
But-
library called the Taft Public Library still? The new one?
In which case, this is completely wrong, because it would be saying no parking along a much larger stretch of North Ave.
But
Right.
you're talking about number 3, right?
Yeah.
Main Street. Isn't that basically the old fire station and the old
Exactly.
library?
Yeah.
Yes,
So,
that's what I mean.
We could say the town hall campus,
Yeah,
because the whole area is called has been designated the town hall campus that we're describing there, from the police station to the.
Okay.
and isn't when you're saying Memorial Square, right? Is that going to change once the construction starts?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we don't know. I'm assuming so, but
Well, I know that little island that's in the road there that has the old sign saying Mendon, Northbridge this way, Milford that way. I know somebody, Kristen probably would know this too. They're gonna take those signs out because that whole little island's going away.
right.
And I know Jason mentioned something about Memorial Square changing when the road was done. That's why I was just curious.
So Ellen may be more a resource for this if we can try getting her for a half hour or 15 minutes during one of our meetings.
We can try to get her for the next one, I think.
Okay. Number 8. EII.8.
No person shall ride any vehicle on any sidewalk in the town.
Right, and my comment here is, what about handicap
Street
scooters?
Yeah. Or if we got some kind of street sweeper type thing at some point. That some towns do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's a good point. I mean, I know I live on Millville Road, and I know Dickie, or one of my neighbors, will ride their tractor from his house to Imperial Gas and back. You know, all the time, and it never causes a problem for anybody.
Well, that's what the thing is for, where we have fines for. I mean, it again, this is another case of, it doesn't say what happens if you do something that you're not supposed to. So I'll add.
Yeah, just
Section 10. This is what we talked a lot about at with Jeremy. So that's not an issue. And the last one is 12. Another thing to talk to Ellen about is 1977 was long before the 911 law. The you have to be very, the 911 law says you have to have a different, you can't have the same property, you can't have the same street and property in two different parts of town. So I don't know whether, again, Ellen would know whether or not this would need to get updated to reflect other regulations and laws and things.
so it sounds like we should get Ellen to weigh in on this entire part.
Yeah, and the other thing, the new thing I wanted to talk about is, there's language talking about handicap parking spaces. Does the town want to do something about requiring commercial businesses to have charging stations for electric vehicles? This came up when we were reviewing the Kevin Meeham's project.
Would that be more of a zoning?
I don't know. It may be zoning, it may be part of here. Joanne, you're muted.
Sorry. No, go ahead. Go ahead. Somebody was talking to me at my house. That's why I muted myself.
Oh, okay. If it is zoning, is this something that would be zoning or general? I guess we're back to asking, well, is this something the zoning enforcement officer would enforce, or the police?
I mean, I would think that would be something that's part of site plan review.
And during the site plan review, the applicant said basically, yeah, no thanks, we don't want to. And
Right.
you can't make us, because there's nothing in the Mendon bylaws that says we have to do it.
Right.
So this is something that would probably get, another one of those things that would get argued a lot at town meeting between the people who are interested in going green and the people who want to let developers develop.
Definitely. Oh,
But
yeah.
it's definitely a conversation to have.
Right.
We have the EV charging station on the campus, and I last time I was visiting the town hall, someone was using it, a private vehicle. It was not one of the town vehicles. They were using one of those two charging stations there. What I have heard from people in other towns is it takes about a year after a charging station has been put in that people start noticing it and incorporating it into their charging regimes.
It makes sense to me. I mean,
Is there anything on the state books that say towns have to go towards eventually incorporating EV stations on any type of permitting?
I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think yet. But that's something to look into for sure.
So,
Not only if there's anything on the books, but if there's anything being debated
Yeah,
that we
so
could
is,
potentially.
so is this something we talked to Jason about referring, not yet to referring to planning board?
I think so. It sounds to me like something that is more of a planning board um responsibility in their interpretation of the, but I think we do want to see like if there's anything the state's talking about. Like my initial thought is this is something that would be a zoning enforcement officer thing anyway. You're a commercial entity, whereas you're a commercially zoned
Yeah,
entity. Where's your charging station? That
and
would be more of a zoning.
we probably grandfather in the same we do any other zoning
Right,
bylaw.
right. But yeah, I see it as more of. I don't think that that's something the police get involved in. You know.
Charging stations cost about 100,000.
Yeah.
it's not cheap.
No, but you can recoup them because you get to charge whatever the property
Right.
owner wants to charge. What
Right.
typically happens is one company comes in and I did this with my church. One company comes in and install them, and then another company comes in and you let them take like 20% of the profits, and they take care of hooking it up with the cell phone apps and doing all the billing for you.
Right. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I don't know much about the process to get them in there. However, I I do think it's like worth seeing what other communities have done, and also if the state is going to make it a requirement soon, anyways.
Mhm.
Also, I strongly believe that would be something for not for us to discuss, but the zoning, the zone. I think that would be more of a zoning
Okay,
enforcement thing, personally. How do you guys feel about it being a zoning one?
it makes sense.
It does
I,
make sense, yeah.
I just that I just thought it came up in my mind because this section talks about handicapped parking spaces.
Right. Right. Okay. And any other thoughts on streets? Sounds like we should get Ellen involved either way, and Jeremy for the fines.
Okay.
There's no other thoughts. We can put this section to bed.
Okay.
Then I think we're
The last thing would be to look at all of these. This is the list I made up of everything that I think that we've ever talked about as having a possible bylaw. And so we can start tracking it. You have your e-voting thing, the change to paragraph 2. Now,
yep.
we just got the notice from Ellen this week that the town, the Attorney General officially approved the language. Let me bring that up. So this is now the, oh, that's not it. Must be the other one.
I don't think the ones that are on the website are updated.
No, because this just got approved earlier this
Yeah,
week.
right.
Now, right now it says within the first 2 weeks and before the annual town election. Does that language need to be changed? I seem to remember you or Jeremy, you or Jason saying there was something that was a little off with this language.
So I thought the issue was in section 2, not section 1.
Well, I think within the first 2 weeks, should that be the first 14 days? Because otherwise people look at a calendar and they wonder what partial weeks mean.
I think I get what you're saying. I get it.
And it also, if we have section 2 with specific language saying the town meeting is going to be the third Tuesday of May, then by definition it has to be the town meeting is before the annual election.
Well, I don't think so talking to Ellen was not of the mindset that the town election and town meeting really like one doesn't affect the other.
Well, and the town election is 2 different things. They elect town officers and then they Prop 2.5 overrides. So yeah, you really do have to have the town election coordinated. And it's a lot easier to have town meeting vote something down and then it isn't on the ballot. That's my looking at it.
Yeah, so I mean, we could, yeah, but changing it to the third Tuesday in May would eliminate the.
Okay.
So yeah, her feeling was that the two don't really affect each other, but if we are inclined, she would suggest just changing the language to the third Tuesday in May.
Mm-hmm.
And I do support changing it to 14 days instead of the first 2 weeks because of what you just said.
Yep. And that's what this language here. This is the current section, and this is my proposed change. A conversation to have with Jason, if he ever shows up, is what process he wants to follow. We just voted, previously we had a vote on this one where
Right.
we approved that. And now we just voted to approve the, which one did we just do?
The,
Item number 5
Number
to
5.
delete the bylaw.
Yep.
So at some point we will be able to hand Jason, here are things for the select board to decide whether they want to propose them on the warrant. My feeling is that we should not be the sponsor of a warrant article. The select board should, and
Yeah.
then we speak to it as the first person getting up
Yeah.
explaining why it's happening. If there's a citizen petition, the citizen would come to us and hopefully work with us. And then they would speak to it, and then they would make the motion, and then the GBRC person would say, yes, we reviewed it and we approve, disapprove, have no,
Right.
you know, or you know, had a tie vote or whatever. So at some point, we'll want to have things that get put on the select board agenda.
What's gonna be our deadline for that?
As soon as the warrant opens, then we can start.
That open what day next month does that open up?
Right. When that happens, we can get the select board.
Hmm.
And it'll be very nice if we have this list all updated and we're able to say what the status is of the various things that we're researching.
Yeah, I think the finalized list, I think shooting for the last meeting in March.
Mm-hmm.
After that, we'll vote on which ones we're recommending to the select board. That's our final list. And then I can ask to be put on the select board meeting agenda, whichever the next one is after that.
Yep.
Go over the list of things we recommend. And then for the big one, which will probably either be the conservation one or the noise and light pollution one, we can have what we wanted to have a public hearing for that at one of the April 10th at one of the April meetings. Probably the last one. How's that sound?
Sounds good to me.
Yep.
That's my thought.
So second meeting in March, that's when we will prepare our final list.
Right. So our next meeting, we should just really be tying things up. Any open action items and hopefully get Chief Kersey back in front of us.
Yep.
And then we'll have a final version of that. And then from there, the second meeting in March, we'll have basically we should be able to just go down the list and vote to recommend it.
Yep.
Yeah. Does that sound good to everyone?
Yes.
Now, one of the other things that should get looked at, and this is one of those emails you probably didn't look at. I made up, Tom, you have a mail message saying a nag list. So this is a collection of who you should talk to about getting their extracting information from them. If you want me to take over any of these because you're still busy doing excise for your day job, let me know and I'll see about setting it up.
I think it should be good. The busy part's over, so
Okay.
but I appreciate it though.
The reason I didn't want to be chair is so that I don't have to be the blunt instrument, talking to people saying, hey, where's your stuff? You get to be more politic about it.
Yeah, so yeah, I'll reach out to those people. I will have answers for next meeting. At the very least on the ones that we want to put on the town meeting warrant. And then is there what else do we want to talk about at the next meeting? I know Chief Kersey. The next section in the general bylaws is we just did streets and highways, but we went back to streets and highways, right?
Well, that's because we accidentally skipped it because it wasn't
We also accidentally skipped regulations as to street, sidewalks, public places, and parks, right?
No, we actually covered those.
We did that one. So
Yeah.
trailers and mobile homes.
Yeah.
Chapter 10, which is very short. We might want to talk about special provisions because we already talked about the animal control bylaw, which is the largest part of that, it looks like.
In addition to looking at the special provisions, there's the whole thing about whether something is a special provision or a different chapter. And this is when
I mean, that was the issue with
Dan Byer came and talked to us in our first meeting saying, wow, he can't find anything because it's all over the place.
Great. Yeah, I mean, Yeah, let's add both the trailers and the trailer one and special provisions. Chapter 10 and chapter 11.
Well, we can start chapter 11 and I we'll see how far we get through it.
Yeah, well, the vast lion's share we already went over, which is the animal control bylaw, right?
I don't know. There's a whole lot of them in there.
Okay, the entirety of section 7. The entirety of section 7, which is page 19.
Through 24 at 3. Right.
Yeah, that is all the animal control bylaw.
Yeah.
So how
And
about
it's
we talk about everything in special provisions up to there.
okay. Yeah. And one of the things that if we have Ellen, we can talk to her about what's the difference between a chapter and a special provision? Like why is the Agriculture Commission set up in here, but all of the other ones get their own chapters?
I think she would probably say.
Because there wasn't a bylaws review committee at the time.
Right. And also she'd probably say, I didn't make these, why are you asking? Yeah.
And so the question becomes, do we want to propose reorganizing them? Maybe we go and ask that the special, the people who are advising the select board on governance issues, if they have any opinion as to how we set these things up.
Yeah, well, I think they're mainly concerned with the zoning bylaws, right?
Yeah, but maybe the select board asks them to spend 5-10 hours working with us on structurally cleaning this thing up.
Reorganizing or cleaning things up.
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good to me.
The zoning bylaw review committee meetings I've attended, they have 2 people showing up and methodically working their way through, very similar to what we're doing on our own, but I'd like to get their input as professionals who do this for a living as to what's a special provision, what's a chapter, if they have a good way of defining that for us. But
Yeah, because, well, it's also interesting because the special provision section seems like something that should be at the end, right? Like, it's kind of inserted in the middle randomly to me. Because there's a lot of things beyond it, and you think this chapter, something labeled special provisions would be something that's
yeah, but all of these other things are new. I can
right.
see all of these having been created after the, the original bylaws in the 60s, and then, oh, earth remove, land use, that probably came in the late 60s, early 70s.
So do you move those all up and just move special provisions to the end and just renumber?
That's what Dan Breyer was proposing, yeah. But again, if we can get input, that would be fine.
Yeah, I mean that sounds good to me. I'll reach out to Jason. Or actually, would you be able to reach out to Jason about getting them the the people from CMRPC at a future meeting?
Well, and
Because that's who's working with them, right? I think it's CMRPC.
what's the name of the private foundation that the select board's been talking to? I don't remember.
I thought CMRPC was the one that was helping them look at the zoning bylaws. The Central
Okay.
Mass Regional Planning Commission.
So you want me to do that?
If you could reach out, that would be
Okay.
awesome.
Okay.
And then I think that will give us a pretty full next meeting.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if anybody has anything else.
I'm all set.
Okay.
Nope.
All right, well, we made it in an hour today, guys.
It's because we didn't have Chief Kersey to work
We
with.
didn't have Chief Kersey, so. All right, well, I will accept a motion to adjourn until March 12th
I so move.
at 6:30. Do I have a second?
Second,
Okay, all in
Carl,
favor?
yes.
Okay,
Carl, yes.
Joanne, yes.
Tom, yes. Thank you,
Okay.
everyone. Have a wonderful 2 weeks.
See you in a couple.
See you in a couple. Have a good
See
one.
you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.